Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, looking at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Hello and welcome back. I'm your hostess, Kristen Blakely, and I'm with my co-hosts, Cindy Murray and Amber Jones.
Hello.
Hello.
And today we decided that it was high time that we come back to a topic that we had come to
Last year?
Oh, or maybe even longer than that.
the
It
year
might have been
before
like
that?
the first or second season when we talked about AI. She's going to verify for us.
Yeah, the episode was called The Rise of AI, I believe,
Yeah.
before it became like really out there.
Yeah. And I mean, definitely AI was already present at that time, but this
Now it's
year
everywhere.
alone, I feel like it's become more.
It was
and
about
more.
a year ago.
It was?
It was a
Wow.
little over a year ago. It was in July of 2024.
Yeah, because I
no.
suggested it
So
whenever it really started
Right,
showing
but we
up
just-
at my school.
but we never
and-
really got to it
Yeah.
till then. So yeah.
Yeah. But it is definitely very prevalent now. And I mean, right now, the AI that I'm seeing a lot is like weird altered videos and photos.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
What is real anymore?
Yeah. This is the weird
yeah.
stuff, like mind melting weird videos.
Right,
and
making people say things that they didn't say, putting people
making people look weird. Like they
making them look
transform
different
before your eyes.
or putting them in a position or a pose or whatever that they never.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you can use AI now to take old photographs and bring them to life.
Yeah, so that like the people are talking in the picture. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah, like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Or no, even your own personal photographs, because Joy sent me one that she did. It was like the only picture she had of her birth mother, and it like she made it to where like she moved, like she
It
waved at the
animated her.
camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was creepy.
Yeah, so that's the creepy side of AI, right? The part that
Well,
everyone's afraid of.
That's
and-
not the part I'm afraid
I
of.
know,
Yeah.
but that's brushing on the surface. That's the
the
parts that we
very-
can see.
that
Yeah.
creative
we
thing
can see.
that's what the creative people are afraid of. Right.
Right. Well, what I wanted to talk about today was using AI to your advantage
Yes.
in a good way. Right, so
Right.
using it to lift yourself up, promote yourself. I mean, maybe
Help you,
not like,
aid you as a
yes,
just like you would use a dictionary or a thesaurus or
Mhm.
a
or the spell
Yeah,
check.
like
The spell check, yeah.
help you at work, like help you in
Mhm.
tasks that would normally take you
Oh,
a million
yes.
hours to do.
like research of
Yeah.
some sort or, yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, there are some downsides to using AI because it does take away a little bit of the creativity. It
Mhm.
does take away some of the toil and labor that gets put into it that gives you those results of handcrafting something, right? And by handcrafting, I mean like handwriting something. But at the same time, it can propel you forward as far as saving time or thinking outside
Right.
the box.
Right. Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about all of the pleasant things that you can use AI for.
Mhm.
Specifically, I wanted to talk about ChatGPT because that I have suddenly discovered in maybe the past like few months or so what a beneficial tool it is for me at work. So, and that was how I first realized, oh, okay, this is something that I could really use like day in and day out. So my boss had recommended a while back using ChatGPT to like enhance our verbiage, or like if we weren't sure like what to say in an email response, because a lot of the things that we do at work are like directives that are conducted via email. Like a large part of our business is organized and fulfillment happens through email. So some needed a little bit of help with crafting out emails. For me, my biggest thing is that I can just talk and talk and talk and talk. But when it comes to typing, I don't type as fast as my brain thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't always think and speak in the same structure that I would write something.
Less linearly.
Yeah, I'm very not linear.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like my ADD brain, because we definitely have loop backs and like, let me bring my story back to where I was going, right? And sometimes I think about the end result first, and that's what I speak on, and then I have to go back and add like the approach to that end result to get the full function of the sentence. And I spend a lot of time crafting out like emails or even like papers when we write blogs. You know, I just start putting thoughts down, and then I have to go in and like piece them in the right order. And it takes me a really long time to do that. And so the first time that I used ChatGPT at work, I realized, oh, I can just plug a sentence in and it will rephrase it for me. And that became a lifesaver for me, because I was having a hard time coming up with the words I wanted to say or how I wanted to say it. And I realized really quickly that ChatGPT was rewording stuff in the manner that I was looking for, and it was kind of picking up like what my approach was. And after it would restructure my sentence, I would tell it rephrase and then put a colon and then type out whatever, word vomit sentence that I provided it. And then it would repost in a more concise statement and then ask me, would I like it to be more nurturing, or did I want to be more strict or a matter of fact, and things like that. And so I liked being able to use that tool. And so I quickly found that I didn't need to sit and stew over emails and really worry about, is my direction coming off the wrong way? And I've started saving a lot of time. So then when I was sitting down one day, I was like, you know what? I'm going to see what else I can do with this ChatGPT, because I think the first thing I asked it was like silly questions, and then I was like, oh, okay, I can rephrase things. And then I was like, oh, let me use it for facts. And I think Scott and I were at the grocery store, and we were talking about like some vegetables or fruits or something. And I asked it about watermelons. Yes, I asked it how to pick a watermelon. And it gave me like more than just the thump test, right? Or like a quick little 5-second video on TikTok would give you like a thump test and like a few tips on picking a watermelon.
But then you got to watch that whole video to get to the point.
And like you watch it like 15 times because it's so fast that you're like, I missed half of the things. But ChatGPT presented it in like little bullet points.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. So I ended up saving it, and then I started like using it for other things. So ultimately, long story short, I wanted to talk today about the different things that I've used, and even possibly Amber and Cindy, because I know you guys have also now used ChatGPT, that we've used to tools to help us around and be more efficient. So I have a couple of things that I was going to say, but I thought maybe I'd let one of you guys kick it off first.
Well, let me start off first, because I am coming from this, and I mentioned on the Rise of AI episode that you mentioned earlier, that I was a very reluctant participant in AI. I was a little bit annoyed that it's been thrust on me, because I'm very wary of it. I've seen a lot of sci-fi, read a lot of sci-fi where AI goes wrong. There's a huge potential for it to be misused by other people. And so I was very, very reluctant to use it. But after you started talking about how you used it to rephrase your sentences for your emails and stuff, I happened to be editing I think that was the first time I did it. I happened to be editing a podcast, and I can't remember if I was needing the description to put on the podcast or if I was looking for a title. It was one or the other. I've used it both ways. I put in the kind of, I don't remember if I added maybe I can't remember exactly what I did, but I can't remember the exact search terms. And I don't, I will say I don't log into ChatGPT when I use it. I don't want it tracking me. So, but I put in some information about the podcast or whatever, and it gave me a list of potential titles that I could use. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, because sometimes I will sit here for 20 minutes trying to come up with a good title for it. Or maybe it was for a blog. I'm not sure. That actually may have been what it was. I may have written a blog and I gave it the text of the blog and had it come up with a title for the blog. So, so anyway, I was like, that was very handy, and it saved me a lot of time that I could then go use productively to do something else. So that enticed me to use it more. And I've really mostly only used it. I started using it experientially for this. It was intentionally to be able to have something to say on this particular podcast, because I knew this was coming up and I had not used it before. And so I used it to find titles for blogs and podcasts. I use it to come up with a summary for the podcast. I've used it to create hashtags. And in fact, the first time I just said, make some hashtags for this blog post. And then I was able to kind of drill down into that and say, well, it has to be within this number of characters and no more than this many words and blah, 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 and I did all these things and came up with usable things. And that was really handy. But that is mainly my extent until the other day. And I wanted to try something else, and and we'll talk about this on a later podcast, possibly, early next year. But I've been doing an experiment with it. I had ChatGPT. I asked it what steps would I take to get myself back on a more normal sleep schedule, because I've been in a very backward sleep schedule. And so I put in what my current sleep schedule was, what my desired sleep schedule was, and it actually came up with a whole plan for me to do that, which I thought was kind of, that was really helpful and very specific. It was daily habits to do, evening routines, time, what time to go to bed, what time to wake up, blah, blah, blah. And it was really very, very interesting. So it is an experiment that is ongoing right now. So when we report back, when we do hopefully something later,
follow up,
then I will follow up with that. So what about you, Amber? I know that you run into all the AI stuff because of your students. So,
oh,
and
okay.
we've talked about that before,
right? You knew about Chad way before I did.
Chad,
yeah, Chad. We call it Chad. I ran into it. Golly, how many years ago was it now? 3 years ago, when it first started becoming, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, when it first started becoming prevalent, and which is why I wanted to do the Rise of AI episode a while back, is students were using it to write their school papers. And the chatter was that colleges were banning it, and if you're caught using it, you are on academic probation, which they still do that, by the way. But if you're using it to a disadvantage, because there are ways that you can use it to a disadvantage, especially if you're copying and pasting something and it has the chat tag at the bottom, which kids are kind of dumb, when it comes to that they're just going to go and copy and paste it, or it's going to show up in not their own words.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when you're reading it in you have a student that is English is their second language and they have like all of this academic language or whatever, and you know that
Yeah.
that's not their.
I can see where that would be very obvious.
Yeah. So there were a lot of obvious things like it had like okay, so like how it's helpful to me is, and this is not Chat GTP actually. What has been helpful to me, like since then, especially since I teach college, has been Grammarly AI, or just Grammarly in general, which was like AI before it was AI. It really helps me in grading papers. And while I do have really good grammar, I can't catch everything. And
Which we actually use. I
Yeah.
use Grammarly when I'm doing my blogs.
yeah, and you don't catch everything, because then I will go and edit your blogs and I'll catch stuff that you did not catch.
Yeah.
So how I started like really using it was subscribing to Grammarly, and that has really helped me as a college professor help the kids say, hey, you need to rewrite this, because Grammarly will call out when something is in passive voice, and it'll call out when something maybe needs to be reworded. So I can take that as a tool, like after I read it myself, I can take it as a tool to use to help the kids, like, hey, maybe this needs to be reworded into something different, and then I can make it into a teaching moment, like, hey, this is how you reword it. So that's really helpful to me as a teacher. Now, helpful to me as a grad school student is that Adobe now has AI for documents, and I get a teacher discount using Adobe, so I only pay like $2 a month, which is nice. But Adobe, because for grad school we have to read 15-page documents and articles, and what Adobe does is that, like, you can use the AI on that and say, hey, can you break down this paragraph for me? Can you break down paragraph 2? I don't understand it. Or, hey, can you, I used it one time because I had to find all of like the sources in the article, and I was having a hard time counting them all out. So I asked Adobe to count how many sources the article had.
Okay.
And the Adobe AI was very helpful in, like you were talking about saving time. Like I have to turn in a paper and a quiz a week for grad school. So it has really helped me with like the 15-page articles that I have to read.
Well,
and I think ChatGTP will do the same thing.
Yeah, well, and we used it a couple of episodes or several episodes back. I think, didn't you, when you correlated ice cream flavors to Enneagram?
Yes, I used it for a past episode when we were talking about the
Enneagram versus Myers-Briggs,
and we were doing the ice cream flavors episode, and so we assigned ChatGPT helped me assign each ice cream flavor to an Enneagram number. And
it did that really well.
Yeah, and and then when we were doing Dante's Inferno, it also didn't it assign each level of hell to an Enneagram number? I can't remember.
I don't remember. Maybe you may have done that on your own.
I might have done that. I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, and like I said, it was the research that you did, like comparing I think on the Myers-Briggs episode, I think it was, comparing the Enneagrams to the Myers-Briggs and talking about which categories the Enneagrams fell on with the Myers-Briggs.
And it
was very interesting. I mean, that's something you could have done by hand, but it would have taken you did it
days.
In 1 minute.
Yeah, it would have taken days. Like it'll read an article for you, the Adobe AI, and break down that article for you. That would take hours and hours to do, thus saving time.
That research and correlation thing. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a time saver, like Kristen was talking about with her emails. and then the Enneagram, and then just like playing around with it. And then we even played around with it a few episodes ago, and I asked it. I asked Chat about me
Oh
and
yeah,
the
I remember that.
podcast,
Yeah.
and it like told me what episodes lately that I've hosted, and like it found, it found our podcast blog, and it talked about like who we are in the podcast, and that's
And
kind of creepy.
what points of view you
Yeah,
usually
what
take?
point of view I
Yeah.
usually take, and like which podcast episodes I talked the most on lately, and ones that I've hosted. It was very interesting.
It was. And Kristen used it.
So I don't remember which episode it was, but I
don't
did
either. You were the
have
hostess,
it.
though.
I did use ChatGPT, and I asked it to give me an opening statement.
Yes.
And I said something different. I just don't remember which one it was. Yeah.
And and so we used that for that one time. And it was interesting what it came up with. I don't think it was necessarily something we would want to use all the time, because it was quite a bit longer than what we usually do, but it was definitely interesting, and you guys maybe might remember it, but if I figure out which one it was, I will link it on here heard it on the podcast. But yeah, we've used it quite a bit lately, just for different things, and I think it's like I said, I think it's interesting and often helpful.
Well, when my doctor put me on a vitamin regimen a couple of months ago, I used it to come up with like a vitamin, like what time a day I should take each vitamin, and it made like kind of like a bulleted list for me, a schedule.
Yeah, I love how it can come up with lists and steps and
you can
things like that.
What I like to use it for is I like to put documents in it, and kind of like with Adobe AI, kind of break down the document, like here is what the doctor or whatever wants me to do. Can you like break this down into a schedule type of thing? Like that's really helpful. Like a personal type assistant for things such as that.
I wish I had this like 2 years ago. My vice president at my work made us all create an elevator pitch. And it was one of the homework things that we were supposed to do before this huge team building meeting that I completely forgot about. The elevator pitch. It was like in the list of 10,000 things. And so I'm sitting there like writing out my elevator pitch on a receipt that I found in my purse. And I kind of like was a fish out of the water on the elevator pitch, because I struggle with talking about myself. So, when you mentioned being able to ask like Modern Musings who we were, that we had a lot of fun doing that. We asked ChatGPT who Modern Musings was, and then I told ChatGPT that I was Kristen from Modern Musings. And it's funny now because I'm actually logged into ChatGPT, so it remembers the things that I've told it about my interests. I've shared some things about me so that it could kind of tailor towards like its responses. And specifically because when I was asking it about Modern Musings, I was like, wow, I feel like it knows Modern Musings better than I did. Like what we did, like just reading what it said that Modern Musings did, like it pumped me up and revitalized my feelings about Modern Musings.
Right.
And so I was kind of like, well, now I want it to know more about me. Like I need to go update my bio on the website. Yes, I know that.
I've been telling her that.
And I haven't put very many blogs out there, so it didn't have that much new information about me. So I did give it a little bit more info about me, just so that it would have a little bit more to go off of. And I actually went back in and I asked ChatGPT to create an elevator pitch about me.
Mm-hmm.
And reading it, man, if you want a boost in self-esteem, just tell it to go write an elevator pitch about you, because it just words it so professionally, and I read it and I'm like, that is me, but like, wow, it's said nicer than I would have said about myself, because I'm more like humble and modest about it, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'm just a supervisor, instead of,
I'm the supervisor.
Exactly. Yeah. And literally at my job, we were supposed to create an elevator pitch, because the whole purpose of an elevator pitch is you get in that elevator and then you realize you're bumping elbows with that person that could be a break in your career,
Right.
like,
That
just
new customer or
Yes.
that boss
or
that you
the
want to impress.
CEO of the company that you
Yes.
work at,
Yes.
right? And so if the CEO like asked you who you were, you wouldn't just be like, "Oh, I'm just a supervisor," right? Like, tell him like who you are and what you do for the company.
Right.
So it was like, wow, that's a slap in the face. Like, I really need to be able to like step up my brand, because I am, in this pivotal role in my company. I'm the only person that does what I do at my company. And there's definitely like, I have like this tiny little piece of job security, because my role is always growing and changing. And so I was like, you know what? I want to do this. So I told it, give me an elevator pitch. So I was going to share it with you, because it's so
Yes,
cool.
I want
like,
to hear
listen,
it. Yes.
it's so neat. So it says, Kristen Blakely is a dynamic leader, podcaster, and lifelong learner with a passion for communication, personal growth, and creative expression. She brings over a decade of experience in a call center and dental environments, excelling in coaching teams to achieve measurable results. As the voice behind the Modern Musings podcast, she explores meaningful topics from faith to personal development, inspiring others to think deeply and live intentionally. With a strong background in healthcare, a love for storytelling, and a knack for motivating people, Kristen blends professionalism and creativity to help others succeed both in business and in life. And then, like, so when I read that, I'm like,
there's your blog bio
that's
right there.
me, right? And that's like just like a professional one, right? But
Right.
it has a little bit of flair of the other parts about me, because it knows that I like to craft and stuff
And
like
the creativity and stuff.
that.
Yeah.
And so it has this is where ChatGPT always doesn't just give you what you want and then just leave you there, right? It always comes back with, would you like something else, right?
Right.
And it always takes it to the next level.
That's the devil's crack right there.
Okay, so some people actually, are
Mm-hmm.
anti-chat GTP and AI. So yes, probably so. But that's why I'm like, let me play
they're not
with
going
it
to be the
around
ones
with it
that
now.
think they're not the
know.
ones who think it's crack. It's the
I
ones
know.
that, it's like it entices you to want more
Mhm.
and more. Yeah.
So it asks, would you like me to make a few variations for different uses? For example, one for professional networking on LinkedIn, a podcast bio, personal brand tagline, and then there's faith-based audience pitch also. And so, interestingly enough, I had seen someone's post on social media that they were coming out and rebranding themselves. It's someone that we know in town. And I was like, oh, I really love her Facebook post. Maybe she had like some changes in her life and some things going on, and she decided she was going to rebrand herself. And I really like that, because, when you think about emerging into like a new like era in your life,
Oh yeah.
you almost do kind of have to rebrand yourself.
Well, yeah, eras.
Yeah.
That,
Taylor Swift style.
Swift eras, yeah.
Yeah, well, but have you, I mean, that's kind of a thing right now. If you look at like,
I'm in my blank era.
I'm in
Yeah.
my blank era. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I said that earlier today. I'm in my baggy clothes era.
Yeah. I'm in my chat GTP era. I always call it wrong too. It's chat GPT, and sometimes I call it
I
chat
say
G,
GTP.
and I say GPT and BTC.
My students
and,
make fun of me for it. I'm like, chat, blah, 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 blah,
almost every time I sound like I have a marshmallow in my mouth. I can't say chat GPT.
I said it
Yeah.
right the other day, and one of my students was like, hey, Miss Garvin said it right.
And I've heard you call it Chad at least 4 times today. So.
Yeah,
Well, it's
we call it
easier to
chat.
say than chat GTP or GPT.
Yeah.
Call it Chad.
GPT.
HAL 9000 or whatever
Right.
it was.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that I used it for. I started to realize, like, wow, I could really use this tool. So since I was logged in, playing around with it, I realized that you can, every time you start a new conversation, it kind of like labels the title of that conversation based on the question that you asked. And you can just keep talking to it, or if you log in, you get a fresh new chat. Or if you're like me, I like to keep all things organized, and I don't want to.
Yeah, I go to different
I don't
chats
want to
for
talk
like
about
different
food
organization.
and
Yeah.
tacos and coffee in the same streamline as I would talk about work, right? So I
Right.
keep them separate.
Hey, you can rename those
Yes,
chats
I was about
also.
to say.
Yeah, I discovered that the other day.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
sorry.
yeah, I'm all hyped up about it. So I went through one night and I renamed them, and then I archived some that like I was like, okay, I don't need to save anything on this one anymore. And so I kind of have like a bunch of little tabs on the side, and I tend to go back to the exact same ones to just keep that conversation thread together. Part of me kind of feels like maybe I'm feeding the relevance to ChatGPT, and it understands like.
Well, yeah,
Well,
and
you're
it'll also
teaching-
bring that
it's learning
conversation to the top if you go to like
Yes.
a
Well, and it is
lower.
learning from you as you are asking it
absolutely.
questions.
So,
yeah.
and this is one thing that a lot of people say, you know, pay attention to it and make sure you read things thoroughly. Yes, absolutely. Don't just let it tell you something and copy, paste, regurgitate.
Right.
But read it through.
Yeah, do
and
your
if
research.
it's wrong and you see that it's wrong, or you know that it's not correct, or you know it's not what you believe to be true, tell it, you know, what you believe. Right. Like I was talking about like personal beliefs, and I use it for like biblical stuff too. Like I ask questions about like compare this verse to that verse or whatever. And like one time it said something and I was like, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
And I told it outright. I was like, no, I don't worship angels. You know, I don't pray to angels. And it was like, oh, yes, that's bad. And then it told me why. And I was like, thank you. Okay, you can go tell other people to pray to angels, but I don't do that, you know. But
yeah, I mean, you do have to take everything it says with a grain of salt, because it's just telling you what it has learned, just like any other person.
Anything else, yeah.
Any person, they're only feeding back to you what they have learned.
Yeah.
So, but the good thing about it is it does provide sources. Same thing with Google's AI. When you do a search on Google and it throws that AI up there, and I have found things that it quoted off of websites that was wrong, or maybe not necessarily wrong, but maybe
it
in
finds it off of
controversy.
websites.
Yeah, if it's a controversial thing, you know, keep that in mind.
Yeah, because if you're using it to like make hundreds on tests, it's not going to make 100 for you.
No.
Oh.
If you're using it to make hundreds on your college papers, it's not going to make 100 for you.
So this actually is really funny because I was looking at a picture someone posted on Facebook, and it was the Google AI, and someone asked, was 1995 really 30 years ago? And AI said, no, 1995 was not 30 years ago. You would have had to have been born on January the 30th, 1995 for it to be 30 years ago. And then it had a period, and then it said, so yes, 1995 was 30 years ago. It was like, it said it, and then it was like, no, and then it contradicted itself, and then it righted itself.
Oh, how funny.
Because, yeah, only some parts of the year it was 30 years ago, but at that point when it actually like said the statement out loud, it realized it was wrong. And I was like, that's kind of funny, actually. Like the AI even realized it was wrong. But
and then there's hallucinations.
So one of the cool things that I when I was thinking about that lady, you know, doing her personal rebranding, I was like, let me just throw that in there, because I had asked, you know, ChatGPT like who Modern Musings was and all that stuff. So I was like in the zone. Like after we played around with it that one day, I was like, oh my gosh, what other shenanigans can I get into? And so I asked it, how I would personally rebrand myself. And just kind of like how you were asking it, about your sleep schedule, you asked, and it gave you tips for success and how to measure that progress. And when I gave it that, it gave me like kind of goals. And I was like, oh, wow, this thing actually can kind of goal set. And so then, like, lights went off. You know me. I'm the goal getter. I love setting goals, even if I struggle, like, maintaining them or actually achieving them. Like, I do achieve my goals, right? Some of them are harder than others, but I'm in it. Like, I love the methodology of goal setting. So then I was like, create SMART goals for these areas of my life. And I told them, you know how we use like the cultivate what matters kind of like methodology of like the areas of your life. Right. So I gave it those topics, and then it gave me goals.
Oh, wow.
For all of those topics based on kind of what it knew about me.
Right.
So, it created a podcast goal. It created a work goal.
Right.
And it wasn't for me because it understood that I'm a leader at my job. So it created goals for my department. And I was like, I love my boss. She does amazing things. But even she hadn't even thought of this goal for me.
Right.
And I hadn't thought of this goal for me. And I was like, wow, the AI actually thought of a goal that like even my vice president hadn't set in front of me. And I was like, well, right there. So I started working towards that goal at work. And I copied that and I pasted it in an email and I sent it to my work email address,
Yeah.
And I've been using that at work. And so when I got to work that week, I was like, well, shoot. Why am I sitting here hand typing? I have 24 employees, and every month we have like objectives for the month, and they vary because there's different days of the month, right? There's different number of days and like different trends, and everybody's in a different place in their performance. But we have like metrics that we have to meet, like bringing in XYZ number of dollars and answering this many calls and converting this many calls into appointments and stuff like that. So I was like, why am I sitting here literally doing the math, like doing algebraic equations here, trying to figure out like, well, if they've answered this many calls and they've taken this many appointments so far and they've brought in this much money, how many more calls do they need to make based on their show rate? Like, algebra formulas, right? And I'm sitting there doing this for 24 people.
Right.
And I do it like every week, and then I set goals once a month, and then mid-month I reestablish the goals. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go in here and create goals. And I created a little copy-paste kind of thing, which I say our department goal for this role is, or the expectations, right? There's a goal and an expectation. Okay. So they kind of have to aim
the goal is to reach for the expectation.
No, the goal is to exceed the expectation, actually. So people are expected to hit this bottom line, but the goal is actually this. Because I need people to like continue to grow, not just hit the expectation. So there's two numbers, and then there's the number where they're actually at. So then I put in those factors, and then I write their name, and then I put where they're at. And then I say establish goals on these criteria and what the person needs to do. And because I've asked it so many other questions now about dental terminology and call center things, that it understands that they're call center employees, right? And what they do in their role. And it probably, is picking that up in the world too. And so it will regurgitate goals.
Okay.
And they're legit. So they're actually like the ones I would have calculated based on like me sitting down and doing the math. So that saved me a lot of time because then I just needed to copy and paste each person's performance into it.
Right.
And so that saved me a ton of time because that literally was taking me a day and a half of work just to create those emails and send them out to everybody. Right. And now I can do it in just a couple of hours. And it's going to be consistent delivery every time, right? Because now it kind of remembers the people, right? If I use their names, which I try not to use anybody's names. So I just try to put the data points in, then I got to go insert people. But the other one that I used after that, one day I was like writing out this really long email. I had listened to a call, and whenever we do like quality assurance at work, we have like this little quiz or form that we fill out where we say like yes or no, they did or didn't do certain things. And if they do well, we, write down what they did good. And then if there is something they missed or forgot or botched or whatever, we'll explain why they didn't meet the expectations for that. And then you send it to them in an email, highlighting on the really important things to focus on, like the key thing that was missed in the call, or the overall patient experience wasn't good, or whatever, right? Or this whole piece of the call was missing. But hey, you did really good at blah blah blah. So you deliver it like a sandwich, right? The good, the bad, and the good, right? And so I deliver this in the same method all the time. But I was sitting there like listening to a call, and it's very linear because it's happening in time. But sometimes the things that happened at the beginning impact the stuff that happens at the end, and vice versa. And so there's like a little bit of back and forthing, and you could start typing out something at the very beginning of the call that they missed, and then it's really
and
like
then they come back and
non-sequential,
hit it later.
or it's not even important in the grand scheme of things because there was a huge data entry error, or they failed to book an appointment or something. So it was like, this is actually more important. Let me just delete all of that.
Right.
So I realized, you know what? Let me just, instead of sitting here and typing everything, and then I'm not listening as well, and I'm maybe not comprehending sometimes like the overall implications because I'm just focusing on one little thing. So one day I listened to the call, and I just started typing in ChatGPT box my thoughts throughout the call, good and bad, all mixed up, and they were all linear. And then I hit enter, and it rephrased it because I've rephrased things so many times. It just automatically knew that's what I wanted, which is what I loved. It just rephrased it, and it actually collected like the good things first, and then the areas to focus on at the end. And I was like, whoa, this is awesome. So then the next time when I decided to do that, I started off saying rephrase, bullet pointing, what went well, an area of focus. Right? And then it does that. And then after it sends it, I say, create an email intro to deliver this to an agent. And then it says, hey, overall, this was a really good call. Here's the things that I think you should, keep in mind next time for really good patient service. Right?
Right.
And then it's like, boom, it's done. Right? And then, I just need to proofread it and make sure that the concepts were correct. So then to kick it off the next approach, I noticed the little microphone on there. And I was like, you know what? Let me talk into this microphone and see how that works. Because like I said, I just speak from my heart, and it's just coming from me, and it's not even like premeditated thoughts. A lot of times it's coming out. Like, I'm not thinking about what I'm saying.
It's like, just like watching Mystery Science Theater.
No, not even that. Like, sometimes like I'm on a roll and it's just coming from me. It's not, me just thinking
running commentary.
Thank you. Yes, it's running commentary. And like I said, when I type, it slows me down, and so I don't get to put out what I'm really thinking. So that microphone is a beast. Let me tell you. Now I just hit that microphone, and then I tell it, rephrase into what went well and areas of focus, and also start with a paragraph introductory that this call was monitored and a quality assurance occurred, and that you need to follow up, with your feedback once you've taken the time to listen to the call. And then as I'm listening to the call, instead of me having to type, I'm just talking to the microphone.
Right.
And so I'm not even using grammar. I'm not worrying about capitalization or spelling. I'm just talking. And then when I'm done, I hit the check. And then it takes 2 seconds to think. And then bam, it takes all of my thoughts, my stream of consciousness, my word vomit, and then puts it into an email.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, that's magical for somebody like me who's ADD and like gets distracted easily.
Yeah.
And it changed like my volume at work. And how much I could do.
And that was one of the things I wanted to get to, at this is a lot of people are worried that AI is going to replace people in, like blue collar or not blue, well,
White collar
white
jobs.
collar
It
jobs.
will.
But here, she's learned to adapt her job to use it, to utilize it. It's not replacing her.
It's making me better.
It's freeing her up to do
more
things because she already has a full plate.
Yeah.
It's giving her more time to concentrate on other things.
Honestly, what it really frees me up for is more human interaction, because instead of me being stuck trying to type this email out and getting this important communication out that needs to be documented on paper, because these do need to be documented on paper, right? Because it's like a receipt exchange, right? So now I can just do this little job, send the notice, and now I actually have more time to actually pick up the phone and like talk to that agent about it more personal and say, hey,
or if you were in a call center, it would give you more time to walk the floor.
Yeah. Or listen to more calls too. So it increased my work volume.
Right.
But it also took the workload off. So now I'm just carrying more bushels and they weigh a lot less, and I carry them a lot faster.
Right.
So I don't think that it's going to take my job away, because you still need that human touch, that human element. But what it brings back is the actual like humanity of that role, and being a coach and actually getting to have like personal one-on-one connections with my coworkers, instead of just work, right?
Well, and maybe, 20, 30 years ago, as a supervisor, you might have been walking the floor and you would just stop and listen to a conversation. And then as soon as they got off the phone, you would say, you should really say this, you should say this, or you should do that.
Hey, really good job.
Yeah. Or whatever.
Right. And
but
because we're
so
not
it's
in person.
You're not in person anymore.
Yeah.
So that really kind of brings you back to that in a way.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely. Yeah. Because I can listen to more calls now. Earlier in the year, before using ChatGPT, I was struggling to get 2 calls a person listened to and reviewed, because I also have meetings with them at least every other week, if not every week. And then, these are one-on-one meetings, and then we have like team meetings, and then, other administrative things. So I was only getting to listen to, maybe 2 of their calls a month to give them coaching in their job. And so because we're remote, I can't just stand behind them and listen.
Right.
So now I'm able to get anywhere from like 4 to 6 calls per person.
Oh, that's
and some
good.
of my employees have actually gotten a lot more just based on their needs at work. So ultimately what it's done is, it's kind of funny. It took me full circle because I set goals, or, it helped me create goals. And then over here, I'm using it for work because I'm like, wow, this is a pretty cool tool. And now I'm actually driving my performance at work. And I'm like, maybe I should go back. I need to go back and recheck that goal it set for me, and like really see like how close I am. It's a SMART goal, so I need to go and measure my progress. It's been a couple of months now, but I think it's just really funny that it's like driving me in a certain direction, like because I'm using it to goal set, and it knows that's what I like because it reminds me, about my goals.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing about that came to my mind a minute ago when you were talking about when you were saying, before we started recording, even, you were talking about using it to set goals, and I just had this bling 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 light go off, because we do our goal setting every year, and the last couple of years I've really struggled at finding my goals. I wound up this year, I only set a couple of goals because there were only a couple of things where I was so super clear about that I could actually set a goal in it. And some of my things I have struggled to find a goal in a particular area because I really don't, in the wake of my loss and the changes in my life, I really don't know. And I'm wondering if I could, uh, like you did, kind of use Chat GPT to help me drill down and like the things that we do with our one little word or our goal setting, where I
Mm-hmm.
find those my core values and things that we've talked about, and talk about the things that I love, and see what it thinks my goals should be. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
really curious about that, because maybe that's what I need, is that clarity, because there's so much stuff like going on in my head that I don't, I think I've talked about this before, where I waffle back and forth about whether I want to pursue being a travel agent full time and try to make more money at it, or do I want to abandon it entirely and just travel, or do I want to find some kind of mix and do something else? So I'm just kind of, I'm curious. I'm curious what a conversation with ChatGPT would reveal as far as that goes for me.
Yeah.
Because it would look at it more analytically
Yeah.
than I am able to.
Yeah. I think you would want to just make sure that you include everything you're interested in.
Right.
So that it makes room for everything. And you tell it what, not just what your goals are, but also what you struggle with, so that it doesn't create unrealistic goals.
Things. Yes. And
Yeah.
but I was even thinking about, okay, my garage. This is something I have been fighting with for like 5 years now, since 2020. But I moved all these other people's stuff into my garage, and then I had to move stuff out of my house into the garage to make room for other people in the house. And I've just struggled for years now to, I've been working at it a little at a time. I am making progress on that goal, but I'm just at a loss, what's next? What's the next step? And I wonder if I could, uh, show Chat GPT a picture of what's there, give it a list, like a rough list of all the things that need to be done and all the things that need to be put away, and see if it could come up with a concise but specific SMART goal for, and that's where I think when you said SMART goals earlier, I thought, wow, that's the key right there. Because that's where I often struggle, is what is the SMART goal that goes with this? Yeah. How do I make this timely? How do I, just make it realistic even? And I think that's where ChatGPT could be a big help right there.
Oh yeah, it totally can.
Yes. So, I pulled up my SMART goals, and it's funny because this one was actually just a SMART goal after a meeting with my supervisors. And my boss gave me like a whole list of action items to do. And so while he was listing the things off, I just typed them off in sticky notes.
Right.
And or maybe I just typed it into ChatGPT. I can't remember, but then I just I said create SMART goals for me in my role as a manager and what my focus will be, and then I listed off these 5 things that he had told me to do. And he told me to list what all reports I wish I had to be able to have great insight on my team's performance. Right? So that's like really vague. Right? So the first one a ChatGPT gave me was create and organize insightful team performance reports. And then it says goal by July 15th of 2025. So this was a while back, right?
Yeah.
Create a structured reporting system that includes at least 4 key performance reports to improve visibility into teams' trends, productivity, and coaching needs.
Oh.
Like it told me more than like what
your boss
what
did.
I could. Yeah, and I was like, well, dang. Because this is what I need. I need a real literal like directive. Like tell me exactly what you want. Don't give me vague, because I'm going to give you the wrong thing, guaranteed.
Right.
So then I was like, okay. And then it says action steps, brainstorm and list reports you wish you had by June the 20th.
Oh.
So
Okay.
it's breaking it down
Yeah.
into dates, right? So I could literally like put these in my calendar, copy and paste onto Outlook calendar,
Oh yeah.
as
And then
reminders or something.
Work the steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this one, the next says meet with analytics or use Excel or a CRM to build templates by June 30th. Reports might include, and then it says call volume versus target, conversion scheduling rate per agent, quality assurance trends, missed opportunity reasons. And I was like,
Like, why didn't I think of this?
yes, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm in the weeds with the reports and the analyst. He and I are like, we do this stuff like very manually. And then it says measurement. Reports are created, shared weekly, and used in one-on-ones and team reviews.
Right.
Just like,
Nerd.
yeah. So that's just kind of some insight into the in-depth level that it provided me for goals. So if you're thinking about goals, I strongly recommend it. I had listed on here meal prep ideas. We talked about it, and we're probably gonna skip on recipes fails because I really want to save a recipe fail story. I've had wonderful, delicious food from ChatGPT recipes, but I did have a fail, so I'm going to save that for another day. So you have to tune in.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So Amber, have you used ChatGPT for anything like personal outside of like school?
Well, you were talking about your elevator pitch earlier, and while you were sitting here talking, I thought that I'm like, I wonder what it would say if I did an elevator pitch. So I just did like two things actually. So I asked it for an elevator pitch about me. And then I was like, I wonder if it would do this because we're learning Beowulf in my senior class right now. And I'm going to have the kids write a boast about themselves.
Ooh.
Yeah. What?
I'm just laughing because I'm like seeing where you're going with this.
And so I asked it to write an Anglo-Saxon style boast about me.
Yeah.
And this was
Okay.
after the elevator pitch, and that's why I was sitting over here laughing.
Okay.
Now y'all want to hear it, don't
Yes,
y'all?
we do.
Okay. And this is so funny because it used kennings and everything. Like, it really did make it. So it says, Boast of Amber, Word Weaver. Hear me, hall dwellers, hearken to my tale. I am Amber, book bringer, word weaver of wisdom, teacher of youth, torch to the learning hall. I have tamed the tempest of tangled text, guiding sharp-minded scholars through shadowed pages, where Orwell and Beowulf stand as grim wardens. I am goal giver, dream shaper of students, counselor in training. Hope's herald in the hallways, from dawn's first bell to day's last light. I guard their futures, forging strong paths with craft and counsel. I am verse vessel, voice of musings, poet of podcast, scrapbook scribe, memory keeper of many lives. No fear shall fell me, nor doubt unmake me. I boast this truth, that my name shall linger, my lessons endure, and my counsel kindle flames in the hearts of generations unborn.
Wow.
How fun.
Yeah, so
now
that
you need to go back and do Shakespeare and Edgar Allan Poe.
right. So that's a Chat GPT's Anglo-Saxon style boast about me.
I love it.
That's funny.
I
Yeah.
love it.
So there's my elevator pitch right there. If somebody asks me what my elevator pitch, I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
And they'll be
Word
going,
weaver.
"Oh."
Amber the word weaver.
Put that on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, right. On my LinkedIn, my job is word weaver. Oh, and then you were talking about rebranding yourself. So I went on in the same chat and I said, so how can I rebrand myself? And then it gave me like all of these things that I can do to clarify my core identity, choose my brand pillars, update my public presence. So you're talking about LinkedIn. It said you need to update your LinkedIn, which I haven't. Website portfolio, which I'm going to have to do for my current counseling class, is
Right.
make a website about myself. And then on social media, use like constant visuals about myself, and rebrand my story, pick a color palette that feels me, and future proof my brand. And then it asked me if it wanted like me to create it wanted it to create an outline and a brand kit, and I said sure. So it has given me brand colors: deep indigo blue, which I pretty much used for my wedding,
Yeah.
sage green,
Ooh.
warm gold, which I also used for my wedding,
Yeah.
and soft cream. I don't know about that one, but
Those
that
are actually
that
kind
that
of pretty sounding.
yeah,
together.
that's what it thinks that I should use as my color palette for when I create a website and stuff like that.
Wow.
And it has given me tagline options like for a resume and my website and stuff like that. Where one of them is, which I like this, where education meets counseling and creativity. Yeah. Empowering students, inspiring stories, and evidence-based practice. Kind of like that. Yeah, and then it's given me symbols and imagery I can put on my website, like a lantern light, or a compass, or a quill, or a tree. It's given me suggestions and like their meanings, like a lantern light, meaning that I guide students, a compass, direction, readiness, a quill, educator, storyteller,
Right.
or a tree, growth, resilience. Yeah. And then it's saying that my website also needs to have a warm, empathetic tone to it.
Nice.
Yeah, and then it created a bio intro for my website. I'm Amber Garvin, an educator, counselor in training, and creative storyteller. In my classroom, I empower high school students to think critically, explore literature, and prepare for life beyond graduation. As a future school and clinical counselor, I'm passionate about bringing research and practice to increase counselor visibility and bring evidence-based strategies into real-world schools. Outside of education, I'm also a podcaster, poet, and memory keeper, bending creativity with professional practice to connect with others in authentic ways. My mission is simple: to guide growth through words, wisdom, and connection so that every student has the tool to thrive academically, emotionally, and personally.
That's
love
really
it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like now it's asking me if I want to like what the next steps that if they want me to give a like outline of the next steps that I
Very
take
cool.
to rebrand myself.
I
That's
like
cool. That's very
Yeah.
cool.
That was kind of a fun little exercise.
Yeah.
it. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
so I think that there is some useful thing. I mean, I will stand corrected in my thing that I think that it is useful in a lot of ways. Like I said, I am still very wary of it. I'm wary more of how people are going to use it. I think if it's used responsibly,
Yeah.
it can be a really useful tool.
But like we're humans and
And
humans are not really responsible.
Right. And
as-
just
Right.
like
as a
any
practice.
tool, it can be used to create things or destroy things.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and now there's this issue of whether it should remain free in the public domain or it should become as a nonprofit or if it should become a for-profit endeavor. And there you go with the once it becomes a for-profit thing, then it loses its integrity.
And
because
then
there's
once the government controls it, then it's gone.
the
Like,
government
it's
or
gonna
any
be like-
individual or
Yeah.
any company, if anyone controls it, then the integrity of it is lost because
Right. You need to have multiple for
oversight,
places
yes,
to get
checks
the
and
AI
balances,
Yeah.
checks and balances, oversight, and it needs to be free and useful to the public and not controlled or used by the government or other entities to manipulate people
No.
or
We'll see what the future holds for that, how that's going to go.
well, you know,
I have
you
my
and
own I have my own opinion about it, but I'll keep it to myself.
No, we want to hear.
No, I
your
think the
own
government's
opinion.
completely going to take control of it.
yeah,
I really it's not going to be free for us
No,
professionals.
the version that we use that is free will be different than the
Yeah,
versions
right.
Oh,
which
sure, yeah.
already the government uses it for
Oh,
other
yeah.
things like military tactics and strategies and political.
Well,
but
and
once
there's-
it's completely taken over by an entity or the
I mean,
government, it's going to be
there is
completely
the-
different
there
for
is
us regular Joes.
Right. There's the potential for somebody to misuse it, to create content that is not real, that is false, that manipulates
there
people.
already is.
Well,
yeah.
exactly. There already is, so it's
Yeah.
only going to become worse. So
Yeah, it's only going to get worse. Like
and that's
now
the fear
it's
because,
fine, but like
because
it's going to get
sometimes
worse.
it's hard to tell. I mean, you obviously can tell with your high school students whether the ChatGPT wrote it or this 10th grader wrote this really wordy thing in a language that is not their first language. But when you start talking about manifestos and government documents and things like that, you know, or advertising or trying to
or
get
even
people
creative entities like
marketing or-
novels.
right.
You know, pretty soon the novels that are going to be cranking out are going to be completely
Well-
there already are some novels out there and they even advertise them as being
Right.
written by AI.
Right.
Well, there's a huge ad thing that I see on YouTube all the time, and really what it breaks down is you go on ChatGPT and ask it questions and create a novel
Right.
based on the data that it provides.
Right. Yeah. And then there's the, you know, the issues
how-to
of
books.
one of the reasons the SAG actors were on strike, you know, a while back was
using their likeness and their voice. Yeah.
You know, we don't want to hire them and take pictures of them and then just use them in perpetuity without them getting paid for it.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I mentioned in the previous thing there was a lawsuit brought on by Scarlett Johansson that there was some company made some kind of recording of it was not her voice. It was an AI in a voice that sounded so much like her voice that her family members thought it was her.
I can see that. Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, we're already looking at, you know, they replaced, you know, because Carrie Fisher had died in those last few Star Wars movies, you know,
then the guy that played like what was his name, not the Emperor, but like the High Commander, because he had died. They replaced him also in a Star Wars. They've done that to a couple of Star Wars characters in the movie with the heavy-handedness of the CGI.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you know, it's there. You know, they could bring you in and shoot some video of you, do a little body scan or whatever, and then you'll never work again because they can make the AI do whatever they want it to do.
Eventually, AI will be the death of creativity.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Which is why I choose to use it while I have access to it to do good things with it.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is you've got to influence people not to use it improperly.
Exactly, and that's why I want to influence people to use it to do good things like
don't
grow
use
yourself, heal yourself.
Don't use it to write something that you didn't write and then pass it off as your. And I will say this: I have used it to aid me in writing a blog, but
it was your words.
It was my words, and I put at the bottom of the blog that this blog article was written with the help of AI.
There was a controversy a while back about it was like a Kindle Unlimited book, I think, or a self-published book where the author like copied and pasted something from Chat GTP and didn't take off like the tag.
Oh, no, at the end where it says, would you like
Yeah.
me to?
Well, it was like it said something on there like, here is a revised version of this
Oh,
passage
that's at the top. Yeah.
that sounded more that sounds more like the author Jay Bree. And
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody left that in their book, and I'm like, okay, I'm never reading that author.
And
we
those
know
are-
she writes
and
using
that's-
AI.
I mean, also that is the downfall of the e-reader books that are unlimited or free, right?
Uh-huh.
Or very
Yeah.
low cost, because when you go on like Amazon, and I'm sure there's so many other places where you can get these books.
Print on demand.
Yes,
Mhm.
because a lot of people are going out there and going, I can write a book and I'm going to skip the publisher. The publisher makes sure that your book is edited and vetted and
Well, and even
not copywritten.
even publishers, sometimes the editor
And
misses things.
Even
in-
sometimes they miss mistakes. So
But-
knowing that even those professional editors who read and reread and reread and revise
Mhm.
1,000 times a book to make it good so that they can sell it, like, what makes you think that your
first draft of
your first draft is gonna
Is gonna be-
hold up?
This is
a
why
candle
I
to
haven't
that.
published
Yeah.
anything. So in the
Well-
last 20 years since I've
and
written my first
You know, that
novel,
was
I've
one of-
revised it like 20 times.
that was one of
It's
the
never good
questions,
enough.
that I asked John Griffith when we had him on the podcast about that, was publishing yourself versus doing it with a publisher, and he talked about, because he did, I think some of his books he had published with a publisher, and then he published them with that he self-published, but he did hire people to do those jobs.
He paid for it himself.
He
Yeah.
paid
Yeah.
for it himself instead of the publisher paying
Yeah.
an editor or whatever, because all that stuff, it takes time and it takes skill, and if you're just doing that stuff yourself,
You're gonna miss stuff.
well, yeah, because and that's why I always one of the things we do on the blog is that we always check each other's work.
Yeah.
We don't post any of our blog articles without at least one of us reading and proofreading
And
them.
it's a good thing. Like I
Because-
said, like you use Grammarly, and then I go back and I always find stuff wrong.
I know, right? And so it's like, okay, well, but it's good, because once you've written something, number one, you're invested in it, so you don't want to change it even if something tells you it's wrong, and number two, you tend to overlook things because you've seen it that way so many times. You become blind to it. It's like being nose blind to a smell. You become visually blind to bad punctuation or whatever, so it's really important that you have that, and have that redundancy, I guess. So yeah.
Checks and balances.
Yes, absolutely.
So, potential another episode is coming back to the downsides and evilness of AI that Amber has. I think she's got lots of...
Amber has a lot of strong opinions about it, and we'll leave
Yeah.
it there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that topic, and we'll also potentially come back to what we were talking about, revisiting recipe fails,
Right,
because
right.
I have some stories to tell. So it probably would take a whole nother podcast to go over them, because
Right.
they're really funny.
Well, and
So-
I think it's important to keep this topic at the
It's
forefront and
prevalent,
repeat it
yeah.
often, because it is at the forefront of our society right now. It's part of what's going on in our world. So a lot of those things, it is important to keep talking about it, because things change and we haven't said all there is to say.
I like it. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I plan on keeping up with my SMART goals and seeing how I can change the game
Mhm.
in terms of that. And what other ways I can use it to propel forward in my life and enhance my life. So I'll keep you guys posted if I think of anything else cool. So what are we talking about next week?
Next week we have another one of those kind of fun episodes, and it's all I'm titling it "Spy versus Spy." So we're kind of pitting the spy movies, the spy genre, not just movies, TV, books, whatever, against each other, and kind of just kind of talking back and forth about a little bit about that, because it's its own little genre. I love those action type spy movies and books and things like that. And so I think it'll be a fun talk. And that's what we're talking about next week.
All right. Looking forward to it.
All
right. Well, I'm looking forward to that conversation next week. So, well, if you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a good rating and share the feed with your friends. Also, don't forget to check out the blog podcast website. If you're only listening to the podcast, then you're only getting one part of the story. Right. So definitely check up there too. We have heard it on the podcast. So the day that the actual podcast episode itself launches, Cindy, painstakingly and carefully notates anything in particular that we talked about where we may have referenced either a book, a movie, a podcast episode previously, or anything kind of that can be linked to another website. So, definitely go check that out too, because if there's something that you heard and you were like, wait, what was that book they were talking about? It's going to be on there. And then of course, there are some blogs in there in between.
Mostly mine.
With additional, insight to the topic. So definitely check us out there at modernmusings.net. And then we would love to hear from you guys at MMC Chat on our Facebook. You can hit us up there and communicate with us. Reach out to us there.
Yeah, we'd love to get in a conversation with you about some of these topics.
Yeah, like if you have something else that you've used ChatGPT for, that's something good, nurturing, like personal growth and development, things like that, I want to know. So let us know what you've used it for, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.